So we're asked to simplify here. So that means write it as simply as you can. So we have like bases, that means we need to use our rules of exponents. So rules of exponents here, let's write these down. If you have the same base, like for example if you have a raised to the m times a raised to the n, same base, you just add the exponents. Similarly, if you divide the two, you subtract the exponents. And so we'll use these rules to simplify these expressions. So because multiply and divide from left to right, we can choose to divide before we multiply, or we can multiply and then divide. Keep in mind that you're adding and subtracting, so common denominators are important here. So what I'm going to choose to do is I'm going to deal with the x raised to the 5/2 divide by x to the 1/2. And then after that I'll deal with the x to the 3/4. So what's written in yellow I have to subtract, so that's x raised to the 5 minus 1 over 2, because you have a common denominator, times x to the negative 3/4. And so that's x raised to the 4/2, which is x squared, times x to the negative 3/4. So off to the side here, 2 is the same thing as what divided by 4? That's 8 divided by 4. So for a common denominator we call 2 8 over 4. Because, just a little lesson here in common denominators, you multiply by 4 over 4. Multiply by 1 to change its form, so that's 8 over 4. So anyway, we're going to call x squared, we're going to call it 8 over 4. And we have to subtract 3 over 4 from it, because this is x raised to the 8 minus 3 over 4. 8 over 4 minus 3 over 4. So that's 5/4. So this simplifies to x raised to the 5/4. Now, was that possibly easier to add these exponents and then subtract that one? Well, take your pick. Do you find it easier to subtract 3/4 from 10/4, so that's 7/4, and then subtract 2/4, which is 1/2, that's 5/4? It's up to you. But the problem here really amounts to common denominator. Let's try the second one. So we have common denominators, so we like that. So let's deal with let's just deal with the numerator and then the denominator afterwards. So x is 3/2 minus 1/2 is 2/2 divided by 1/2. That's x raised to the 2 minus 1 over 2. So that's equal to x raised to the 1/2. Let's go back to this first one and try it doing the numerator first and then the denominator. So if we had x raised to the 5/2 times x to the negative 3/4 divided by x to the 1/2. Let's say we called that 10/4 in the numerator. So we have a common denominator, and then in the numerator so up top we have 10 minus 3 over 4, so that's x to the 7/4. divide by 2 quarters is the same as 1/2. So this is x raised to the 7 minus 2 over 4, so that's 5 quarters. So you see, we get the same answer. Went about it a little differently.